The problems of the early part of the evening now have been sort of resolved. Chris Boardman here. I was having a chat to Chris, and he said, in fact, that he's just been spending 4 days on the track at Manchester, getting himself ready for the race this evening. He misses that track edge after having that terrible crash in the Tour de France, and he's ridden a couple of road races, the Paris-Bourges and the Paris Tour. Climbed off in the Paris Tour. He said he's having his head kicked in, and there's no sense in being absolutely written off in the race. He's got a lot of work to do during the winter, road miles, to build himself back up again. The trouble with pursuing, he said, that he did a 4:29 at Manchester during the last 4 days in training there with Peter Keane, and he's been going around at 52 kilometres per hour for an hour quite regularly on the track. But it's the first lap when his ankle is really giving him some stick. So Boardman wasn't too, I won't say enthusiastic about the racing tonight, flat out against the world champion, but he's come along. Of course, the problem then that's happened to Obree's bike is, I won't say level it off a bit, but Obree certainly hasn't got the usual stretch position that we've seen him in before. Here they go, the concentration between these two. He's sponsored now by Scott Oil, by the way, Graeme Obree, so perhaps Mr. Scott Oil will help him make a new bike when he gets back. Scott Oil, being a service industry in the oil business, launched Obree as their new one-year sponsor with Aberdeen during the week. And now Graeme on Pinarello bike, like the one used by Indurain in his hour record attempt last year. Both these two ex-hour record holders, both pursuit champions of the world. Boardman, the reigning Olympic champion, against Obree. There they go. Let's hope nothing breaks this time, and on the way. Somehow Obree's having difficulty controlling that bike. He's not accustomed to it, and straight away Boardman, despite the pain of that first lap, very quickly off the blocks then. And let's see what the first time check shows us at the moment. Yes, Obree 1.37 seconds down. He normally pushes in a great big gear and settles in, and that was what Boardman was saying, that whilst to begin with the two of them might begin to get more equal on the first kilometres, towards the back end of the race that he expected Obree to come through. But of course Obree hasn't got his normally stretched out position. He's in a normal tuck and he's not used to that at all, so he's going to be a great disadvantage here, Graeme Obree, not to ride in that Superman position. And I asked him how did he get to ride in that Superman position with his hands all stretched out, and he said, I was riding in the Eddie Merckx Grand Prix last year, taking an awful pasting. I was really rough, I was going nowhere, and so I just went to the front of my triathlon bar and stretched out to get more leverage and more stretch out, and suddenly I found it was that much better, and I've practiced and worked on it ever since. And that's the strange fellow that he is. He got that position, that long stretched out position, and has got accustomed to it. But really you can see here he's already 3 seconds down. The trouble with that broken bottom bracket and riding a strange bike. But Graeme Obree, always a character. He's come here having ridden against Cipollini in a straight out kilometre race in Italy yesterday. He had to fly back into London, stopped overnight in London. The people on the aircraft had broken his saddle. He had to repair that. He started tonight with a spanner bolted to the front of the saddle to stop it rocking. So he's had all sorts of problems. I'm not surprised now he's struggling against Chris Boardman here. And the gap then 3 seconds, so I think it's going to be all over bar the shouting. So bad luck for Graeme, at least when he goes home to his wife Anne and his two children, taking a large ham that he got yesterday and the enormous glass vase trophy which Cipollini, who won the kilometre race, and Obree was second in it, Cipollini gave him the prize plus the ham he got for being in second spot. So he'll go home with memories, I think, will Obree, of tonight's activity. Looking here at Chris Boardman, who is riding that Lotus bike, that stretched out position, that unusual bicycle. By the way, the Lotus bike he's riding is the same one Boardman's using as he uses on the road, and you won't see it on television, but actually the bolt holes are still there on Boardman's bike where they screw the brakes in, and the holes are still there where they run the cables through. He's riding on a road bike. This one here is the one they use in the road time trials and the prologue time trials. All they've done is take all the gear gears of it. They take the unbolt the back hangers at the back, bolt in some special track ends, and he's actually riding on his road bike now adapted to the track. That's most unbelievable. I remember years ago a lot of road time trialists used to ride on the track and the road using the same bike. That had places you could bolt your brakes on and screw your mudguards on if necessary, but the Lotus in fact is ridden on the road and the track, and it's the only multi-purpose bike I know. In fact, Chris was saying he's actually ridden that bike to a 17-minute 10. Just thinking about you time trials back in Great Britain, that bike of Boardman's, he put the brakes on, well, front brake only, and rode a 17-minute 10, pounding on an enormous 102 fixed gear. There he is, 17-minute 10, 102 fixed gear, and he's looking forward to the prologue time trial in the Tour de France this coming year. It's actually somewhat longer, 9.4 kilometres is the distance, but there's big bends on it. I was with him when he was, one of his team helpers had been out to look at the prologue course since the announcement of the Tour de France, and has said that it's got big bends on it, and it might be good for him in the Pursuit Championship, sorry, in the prologue time trial in the Tour de France. But as Chris said, I'm still a rookie at this one, and we just wish him well on his recovery. And looks like Obree's beginning to fight back now. Hey, it's all coming back all of a sudden. Well, this is exactly what Chris said, and over 4,000 metres here, Obree suddenly restored himself, and he's down to 1.367. I was thinking it's all over and done by the shouting. The bell goes. He's cut the cap back, and Boardman begin to show the lack of racing on the track as now Obree has all those problems. He's starting to claw back at that one, and Boardman's got to use all his experience here to try and go for this one too. He's got the lead at the moment. He should be able to hang on for it in the last lap, but that gap has been cut back by Obree, who is not going to let it go without a fight. And there we are then, 4:39.821 and 1.70 with the difference at the end of it all. And the two Brits then gave the crowd an enormous fight despite all the problems, and the French, of course, loving Boardman, rides for Gann, a French company, are applauding what they would call their rider, but everybody also applauding the great Graeme Obree, who is the world champion, showing yet again how individualistic he is. He's come here tonight, he's ridden under great problems, and he cut the gap towards the end. And Boardman, who knows he's got a lot of work to do still for the pursuits in the future, but now settling down on the road. At least he has one scalp there, and I'm sure that anybody else wants to put a match between Boardman and Obree on their programme will get another full house, because these two characters have really attracted attention to pursuing, attracted attention to our record breaking, and it's good to see the Brits out there bringing home the goodies too. And to Boardman, we wish him continued good success in his return to form, whilst Obree here giving the crowd something to cheer about, but in an unusual position on an unusual bicycle, just was no match for the ex-pursuit champion of the world, who could not ride this year because of that damaged ankle. And I really am looking forward to the Olympics next year. Frank Quinn on the left-hand side, Obree's manager. A bit disappointed, I'm sure, with the problems that Graeme had. When these two met earlier on today, I was there when they met for the first time since the World Championship, and the genuine way in which Chris Boardman put his hand out and spoke to Graeme Obree with his congratulations and his deep comment, you could sense that between the two of them, you know, it's just tremendous, that atmosphere. No enmity, just one man recognising the champion of the world and what Obree has done. Well done to both of them. A lap of honour for the two riders who've taken part in this special invitation 4,000 metre pursuit. The success going then to Chris Boardman. Who's really going to devote his time more to the road, I think, this coming season. But as far as Chris is concerned, that's a welcome return to form. I actually spoke to Chris as well about our record attempt of Indurain. He said, look, you know, you just don't go to altitude like that. He said, if you look at the records that put up, they were all the shorter distance records, nothing really past 4 kilometres, and anybody riding the points, you see how completely bushed they were towards the end. And he was not surprised that Indurain nor Jenny Longo failed to get the record. And at the back of Chris's mind, by the way, he's still interested in the hour record at some point. I didn't have time to ask Obree if he's also going for it, but these two Brits really, who set the world alight with their hour record attempts, they're pursuing, really carrying the Union Jack flag. And let's hope to goodness that out there's some riders using the Manchester track